Alright guys, I am back again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 1 of my Lyrical Monasterio Fortia deck. So version 1 is everything through the first additional card pass, so through Lyrical Booster 3 for this deck. And this deck revolves around units with the friend keyword and filling up your entire field with friends in order to restand your Vanguard. So, as always, we will be going through the deck, and then we'll show it off in one card fight. So, starting first with our ride deck, we have our Grade 0 starter, which is Mimish Tubilila. So, when she's rolled upon, if you want a second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter, like always. Next up, for the Grade 1, we have Mimish Azhachir. I guess, as always, I'm doing my best with these names. But anyway, she has the Friend continuous ability that's active on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. That says if you have another unit in the same column as this unit, that unit and this unit become friends. So, Friend is just a status, it doesn't do anything in and of itself. But we do have quite a few cards that rely on you having a certain number of friends on your board, or a unit being a friend. So you just need one unit with the friend ability in each column, and that entire column will become friends. So then she has her auto ability that says when this unit is rode upon by Mimish Rikashina, you call this card to Rearguard Circle. So she just calls herself out, getting you one friend unit onto the board, so setting up at least one column to become friends as soon as you put something else in front of it. So next for the Grade 2, we of course have Mimish Rikashina. So she also has the friend ability. All these friend abilities are exactly the same, they just make all the units in that column friends. And then she has her second continuous ability that says if you have another friend, when you would ride Mimish Fortia from your ride deck, you can ride without discarding a card from your hand. So free ride as long as you have another friend on the board. So if you put something behind your Vanguard, your middle column will be friends. If you call Azhachir to another column and put another rearguard in front of her, that will work as well. So as long as you get another friend anywhere on your board, then you'll get a free ride into Grade 3. So then lastly, for our Grade 3, we of course have Mimish Fortia. So again, she has the friend ability, active on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. And then she also has her auto ability that says once per turn, at the end of the battle this unit attacked, if you have 5 or more other friends, you can counterblast one and discard a card from your hand to stand this unit, and it gets power plus 5,000 drive -1 until end of turn. So pretty cool restanding ability. It is a ±0 since you have to discard one from your hand and you only lose one drive. So you get that 4th attack, you get a 3rd chance at a trigger. The only flaw with this skill is that you do have to have 5 or more other friends in order to activate it. So that means you do have to have a full field, and if for whatever reason you can't fill up your field with friends, then your whole deck basically bricks and your Vanguard can't do anything. So that is why we have most of the cards in the deck dedicated to filling up our board as easily as possible. But if you do get those 5 friend rearguards out, then being able to restand your Vanguard is always a very powerful play. So that is the ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the Grade 3s, the only other Grade 3 we're running in the main deck is actually just our 3 additional copies of Mimish Fortia for our Persona Ride purposes. And of course we have the LSR alternate art. So that's the only Grade 3, so moving on to the Grade 2s, first off we have 4 copies of Hoppin' Stellar Melty. So she also has the friend ability. And then she has an auto ability that says when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle during your main phase, you can counterblast one to choose up to one card with grade equal to or less than your Vanguard from your hand and call it to Rearguard Circle. and if you called a card, you draw a card. So this is one of the good draw engine cards of the deck. You want as much draw power as possible to make sure you have the units necessary to build your full board to get Fortia skill off. So this card is very helpful in that. You do want to have another open rearguard circle when you call her, so you can call something else from your hand to that empty circle to get the draw, so you don't have to call over top of something and just make this a ±0. So keep that in mind, but this is a very good card as far as draw power. Next up, we have 4 copies of Boisterous High Tension Roxella. So she also has the Friend continuous ability, and then she has her auto ability that says when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have 3 or more other friends, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of that battle, and if you have 5 or more, you choose one of your rearguards with a Friend ability not in the same column as this unit, and you may return it to your hand. So even with just 2 full columns, she does get the power gain, making her a 15k beater. And if you have the full field of friends, then you can bounce another one of your rearguards from another column back to your hand when she attacks. So that can be helpful in reusing your on-call skills of things like Melty. It can also be helpful against control decks by clearing off a unit from your board. That's one less unit that your opponent can potentially retire or bind or what have you. So that can help you potentially recover your field next turn if it gets decimated by your opponent. So very, very helpful card. So then lastly for the grade 2s, we have 4 copies of Cheshire Smile Larissa. So again, she has the Friend ability, and then her auto skill that says when this unit attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 2,000 until end of that battle for each of your other friends. So with a full board of friends, she will be gaining 10k, so she'll be a 20k beat stick. So pretty good rearguard, really helpful with your offense. She can make a pretty big rearguard column on Persona Ride turns especially. So she's just there to bludgeon your opponent with. So that is all of the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 4 copies of Ernest Stayer Yvetta. So again, she has the Friend continuous ability, and then she has a second continuous ability that says if you have another friend, this unit gets power plus 2,000. So very simple power up skill, but she is a 10k on your board. She makes an excellent Vanguard booster since it helps Fortia hit magic numbers. Also, if you're desperate and you have to, you can put her in the front row as well, and she would be 10k like a grade 2 would normally be. So very good at filling in your field. She's also the only grade 1 besides the one in our ride deck that has the Friend ability in this deck. So if you end up in a bad position and you have to like call a trigger or something just to fill up your board, she can still turn that unit into a friend. So next we have 4 copies of Sound in the Wind Ducala. So her auto ability says once per turn, when your unit with a friend ability is placed in the same column as this unit, if you have 3 or more other friends, you can counterblast one and draw a card. So again, another good draw ability. It is another counterblast cost. This deck can get very counterblast heavy, so you do want to kind of be careful about how you spend your resources. But if you don't have Melty, or you don't have another empty rearguard circle to call something off of Melty's skill, you can use this card instead to still get that draw power. Now, Ducala herself does not have the friend ability, so you do want to make sure you put her behind someone who does have it, which all of our grade 2s in this deck have the ability, so most of the time that shouldn't be a problem. So next we have 3 copies of Cooling Heart Yuika. So her first auto ability says once per turn, when your other unit in the same column as this unit is placed, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So basic power up ability, making her a 13k booster. And then her second auto ability Says at the end of the battle this unit boosted a rearguard. You can Soul Blast one to choose one of the boosted rearguards and return it to your hand. So just another bouncing ability, again helping clear off your own board to prevent your opponent's control abilities, or just to reuse the abilities of things like Melty or Ducala. Can be very useful, just like Roxella. Can also be combined with Roxella to potentially empty out your entire front row if you want to, or anything else. And this card is actually the only card in the whole deck that uses Soul, so this thing is not competing for any resources with anything. So, very helpful card. So, our only other grade 1s are our Sentinels, so we have our 3 copies of Soapy Splash Riviera. So, just your standard Perfect Guard. And then, of course, we have 1 copy of the Nationless Blitzorder Elementaria Sanctitude, which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we do just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 3 copies of Original Style El Shuka. So just your vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 4 copies of Precious Tune Edwidge. Your crit with a skill. At the end of the battle it boosted, you can put it into your soul to give someone plus 2k. This isn't a super vital ability in this deck. You don't need very much soul. Again, Yuika is the only thing that uses it. So if you want to run something else besides this, you can. But if you end up having to call this on a turn where, you know, you're desperate just to build a board, it can clear itself off the board while turning into a resource for you to potentially call something better later. So, can still be pretty useful. So next for the draws, we have 4 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Baratois. So draw with a skill, Chronos Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, gets shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield draw trigger. Next for the heals, we have 4 copies of Peaceful Garden Anika. So just the vanilla heal. As always, if you want to run any effect heals, you can. So then lastly, our over trigger is 1 copy of Fantastic Fernally Katrina. So her additional effect during this fight, you get during your turn, all of your rearguards get power plus 10,000. So gives a skill to the player, powers up all your rearguards for the rest of the game. Very, very useful skill. So that is the deck. So we will go ahead and have our 1 fight with it. And let's fight Megumi this time. And we will be going first. Alright, so let's drop one of these Ducalas to ride. And then we can just end our turn. And we will let that through. She gets a draw trigger right off the bat. Alright, so let's discard. And we'll drop that heal, I guess, to ride Rikashina. Hazard Cheer skill. We'll let a Superior call her from our soul. So we'll go ahead and put her behind our Vanguard. So let's see, we will go ahead and call Melty over here and use her skill to counter blast. And we superior call one from our hand, so we will call Yuika. And we'll get to draw. And we draw our over trigger. Oh well. Alright, so let's go ahead and plop Ducala back here and Roxella over here. And we have our full field of friends already. When a unit becomes friends, it does get that little symbol in the top right corner that looks like two hands holding. So we are all set up and ready to go. So we will attack with the Vanguard first. Oh, and she pulls her over trigger, which totally shuts down our offense for this turn. But I'm going to go ahead and attack with Roxella anyway, just to get her bounce skill. She'll gain the 5k, but that's not going to help anything, obviously. But that lets us bounce someone, so we will bounce Melty back to her hand. And I think I'm not going to use Yuika's skill at the moment. And Elrante got revealed for Karis' skill, so it goes to her soul. And we're going to let that one through. And we get a draw trigger. But you know what? I actually want at least 2 damage for next turn, so I'm going to give that power to Roxella. And then let that through as well. Oh, and then we got a crit. Nice. So we'll give that to our Vanguard. And her last rear guard won't be able to hit us. Alright, so since we have another friend, Rikashina's ability will let us ride without having to discard. So we will ride into Fortia. And then we can go ahead and call Melty back from our hand. And both those skills trigger, but I need 1 face-up damage for Fortia's skill. And we don't have another empty rearguard for Melty's skill anyway. So we're just going to use Ducala's skill to counterblast. And draw 1. And we're not going to resolve Melty's skill. So with that, I think we are good to go. We do have our full field of friends still. So we are going to go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. Not boosted this time. So now we can use Fortia's ability to counterblast and discard 1 from our hand. So we'll drop one of these Larissas. And Fortia re-stands and gains 5k, along with losing 1 drive. So now we can attack with Fortia again, boosted this time. So then we can attack with Melty. And attack with Roxella. And her skill will trigger, giving her an extra 5k. And letting us bounce 1, so I'm actually going to bounce Cheer back to her hand. And we'll go ahead and use Yuika's ability as well to Soul Blast. And return Roxella to her hand too. She's gonna Superior Call her draw trigger off of Lattice's skill. And we'll let that one through. She gets a front trigger. So now Magnolia skill will let Elronte attack from the back row. And let's see, we need 10 to block that, so I think I'm actually going to guard with Roxella and intercept with Melty. And I want the damage, so I think I'm actually going to let that through. And we get a heal trigger, which we do get, so we heal 1. And give that power to the Vanguard, of course. Which Elronte will still be able to hit, just barely. Santa gets 5k. So, let's see, we just need 5 to block that, so we will guard with Yuika. And unfortunately, we do not get our Persona Ride. But we will go ahead and call Iveta behind our Vanguard. And Roxella over here, which will trigger Yuika's ability to gain an extra 5k. And then we'll call Larissa over here, which will trigger Ducala's skill to counter blast and let us draw. And I think we're all set up, so we will go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. Again, not boosted. And she perfect guards. And we checked 2 perfect guards for that. So now Fortia's skill will let us counter blast and discard 1. So we will discard. We'll drop Cheer. To restand Fortia. And attack with her again, boosted this time. With a magic number, thanks to Iveta's 10k. And she perfect guards again. So now we can attack with Larissa. And her skill will activate, giving her an extra 10k, since we have 5 other friends. And then attack with Roxella. And her skill will give her 5k. And let us return Larissa to her hand. And she guards. So we'll go ahead and use Yuika's ability to Soul Blast again. And bounce Roxella. She rides into Magnolia Elder. Superior called Lattice from her soul. Alright, we need 5 to block that. We'll guard with one of these Larissas. And we'll guard that one with our heal. And we just need 5 to block that as well, so we'll guard that with Melty. And I think I'll let that one through. So then we'll perfect guard that one with Sanctitude, and we won't have to pay the cost because she's got triple drive. She gets a draw trigger. And a heal trigger, which she does get. Oh wow, and another draw trigger on top of that. So triple triggers there. So we'll just guard that with our over trigger. And with perfect timing, we draw our Persona Ride. So then we will go ahead and call Roxella from her hand over here, which once again powers up Yuika. And we'll call Larissa back over here. And we're gonna not use Ducala's skill because we gotta save that counter blast for Fortia. So we will go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first, not boosted. And she guards for 2 to pass, and there's 1. So since we're going to restand Fortia anyway, we might as well risk it. So we're going to give both those effects to Fortia. Ah, and we didn't get one. Oh well, that trigger's not wasted. Because we're going to use Fortia's ability to counterblast and discard 1. restand Fortia and gain 5k and -1 drive. So we attack again, boosted this time, for 48,002 crit with 1 drive tick. Oh, and she drops a lot of cards. Whoa, and a lot of intercepts. Alright. And we get a draw trigger, and that will not be enough to go through. So I am going to give that power to Roxella. Wow, she guarded that with 8 cards. So we will attack with Larissa now. And Larissa's skill gives her 10k. And she lets that one through. She's got 2 cards in her hand. Will she be able to block this last one? We'll attack with Roxella. And her skill gives her extra 5k. As well as letting us bounce someone, so we will bounce... we'll bounce Larissa. Oh, and she's gotta let it through. And we got her with that one, alright. So there you go. That was my Fortia Friends deck. I do like this deck quite a bit. It is pretty fun, filling up your field and restanding your Vanguard. So I will be back soon with more deck profiles. But until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.